Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Amobi Okugo, host of Money Talks, a new podcast from a frugal athlete in partnership with Billion or Bust Media. Money Talks explores the world of business behind professional athletes. I speak with financial advisors, business managers, marketing and PR professionals who specialize in running the business of being a pro athlete. Tune into Money Talks on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find new episodes on billionourbustmedia.com and afrugalathlete.com. Again, billionourbustmedia.com or afrugalathlete.com.
All right, folks, welcome to the 2 Cents Podcast. This is the Buckeye Review edition, and we are getting into it's the Northwestern week wrap-up, but we're getting to the Wisconsin week. First, I want to kind of quickly say a few things about the Northwestern game, and I know it's Northwestern. I get it. Not a great football team, but they're coming into this game feeling pretty confident in their defense. Running game was decent heading into this game, and you feel like maybe they could put up a fight a little bit, maybe for a quarter, and they absolutely did not. Ohio State dominated this game, 152-3. We know that. We expected that. Ohio State 7-0, undefeated in the Big Ten. Yeah, sure, great. Here's what's important about this game, just some takeaways. Defensively, unbelievable defensively. The way this Ohio State defense has become suffocating in the passing lanes is next level. I know all you can do is play the teams on your schedule, so the biggest knock on Ohio State right now is, well, who have they really played? And I guess my only retort to that would be, Ohio State dominated Cincinnati. Cincinnati beat UCF, who was number 15 in the country. That's, to me, a significant thing. Dominated every team in front of us on our schedule, and all you can do is beat the guys on your schedule, and it's going to get a little bit more difficult as we get down the home stretch of the Big Ten season. Now, I want to dig into a couple quick things. Justin Fields accounted for 4 touchdowns, which is fantastic, passing touchdowns. Did a fantastic job of just being very, very using a lot of wisdom and exercising good judgment. That's what I like about him as a quarterback. He's not going to put the team in any compromising situations trying to make a play that isn't there or trying to create something out of nothing. He doesn't need to. Our athletes are too good for that. And when a guy's open, he usually gets him the ball on time. The offense stays on schedule. Why does the offense stay on schedule? A big reason for that is J.K. Dobbins. Over 120 yards on the ground, was absolutely killing it. Had receiving touchdowns, rushing, had a huge long run, which I love to see, and he's showing so much of his versatility, and he's showing why he will be a very valuable back at the next level. You need a guy that can not just push the pile, because there were a lot of runs in this game where there wasn't much there. And J.K. Dobbins put his head down and just moved the pile an extra 4 or 5 yards and forced first downs just with sheer force of will. And I love that because that's a mentality. That's an attitude. And the offensive line feeds off of that. The entire team feeds off of that. I also want to give a huge shout out to the kicker, which I never do, but Blake Heibel, 55-yard kick. That is huge. That tells us not only do we have a great defense, not only do we have a great running game, not only do we have a quarterback that is going to come into his own, still coming into his own, but is executing at a high level. Not only do we have talented receivers, but we play special teams at a high level. Punting looked fantastic. And to be able to kick a 55-yard field goal and make it, it tells the offensive staff, we know we can count on this guy late in games when we need something critical or we need points. That's a really good thing to have in your back pocket as a head coach, knowing you got a guy that can crush one from that kind of distance. It makes your offense just truly threatening from anywhere. So, big day. I don't want to take anything away from the Buckeyes in that regard. Chase Young had another big sack. He's the best player in the country. I've been saying that since the summer. I think he's the most productive, maybe one of the most productive football players I've ever watched at the college level, to be able to affect the game on every single play. To be able to force teams to have to slide the protection to him and double him. He always wins his one-on-one. He usually wins double teams too. It's pretty amazing to watch. He clogs up passing lanes with his length. He's got 9.5 sacks now. He's going to break the record this year. Obviously, he should be the first player taken in the draft. It depends on if the Miami Dolphins draft for need or draft for best available, because they probably will be picking number 1 because they are god-awful. And that's their plan, it seems. Now, moving ahead, Wisconsin. Badgers were number 6 in the country and were looked at as this was our game to make a statement to the entire football world as far as college is concerned, that, hey, we're legit. The Ohio State Buckeyes are here. And what does Wisconsin do? They go and blow it to Lovie Smith in Illinois. They go and lose, and like Achilles said in Troy when he fought Hector, don't let a rock take my glory. When Hector tripped, they tripped. Illinois was the rock. We are Achilles. They are Hector, and our glory is now somewhat taken, because who do we have to really look that great against to make our statement victory? Yeah, we're going to beat Penn State and Michigan, and those are always going to be great wins. And either way, if the Buckeyes went out, it's over with. They'll be in the playoffs. We know that, but still, you wanted an epic battle against Wisconsin. Here's the problem, though. Now Wisconsin, after having that huge loss, everyone talked about it. It's huge. I don't know how far they're going to fall. Georgia only fell about 6-7 spots when they were in the top 4 and lost. I got a feeling Wisconsin, it's going to fall a lot further, and that's just how it is when you're the Big Ten. They look at those losses as way worse than SEC losses. Makes no sense to me, but whatever. All that matters is what's Ohio State going to do against Wisconsin. Wisconsin coming in, Jonathan Taylor had a big fumble in that game. Didn't look fantastic. Their offensive line didn't look fantastic. Their defense didn't look fantastic like we're used to seeing. Number 1, number 2 defense in the country. Statistically speaking, you expect a lot more out of them. So with Ohio State having a chance to now play Wisconsin, still get a lot of points for the win there. If Ohio State beats them, you have to understand how Wisconsin's going to attack Ohio State. They really want to get the ground game going. No one knows who Wisconsin's quarterback is. I only say that because that's how heavy they lean on the running game, their offensive line, and their defense. That's what's always traditionally made Wisconsin teams who they are. The only time they've ever been anything more than a solid football team is when they had a decent quarterback, and this year is no exception. They will try to pound the ball early, and they will also try to hit a couple play actions if they can. It's going to come down to eye control and discipline, staying in your lanes as a defense. If we play sound defense against Wisconsin like we've been doing all season long, if our defensive line attacks their O-line and creates a new line of scrimmage a yard and a half back, we're talking about opportunity to not just crush them, but really, really solidify ourselves in the country as the best football team in the country. And now, because Wisconsin has a loss, the Buckeyes can't just beat Wisconsin, right? It can't be a 35-21 game, which is good. You win that, and that's still good. No, it's got to be 42-7, 42-0, 42-10, something. It has to be super dominating and convincing if we want to go from 3 to possibly 2. And, I get that Alabama and Clemson, and I understand how the committee is going to look, and the AP poll is going to look at how they do their ranking, but I truly believe in a lot of, big-time, high-powered sports analysts and college football talking heads all say the same thing. Ohio State, to us, passes the eye test as the best team in the country. This will not be our Purdue week. I don't see that where, we slip. This team is wired so much differently than the team last year. Ryan Day has this team focused at a different level, and he has them feeling like a family and loving on one another at a different level. And I truly mean that when I say these guys are a tight-knit group. I listened to an interview with KJ Hill, and he's talked about just, hey, this team is closer than any team I've ever been on. And that's a senior saying, hey, I've never felt a tighter bond than I have with this group right here. And just how hard these guys work together, how much, they care about the next man. And the defensive simplicity is what changed everything, to get a new scheme in there where guys aren't having to think and have 1,000 checks. That was the biggest thing when you talked about the defense the last couple seasons, especially last year. Yeah, Dwayne Haskins last year was lighting it up, and we were putting up tons of points, but we had to because we gave up so many points defensively because guys were doing a little bit too much. They had a little bit too much asked of them when it comes to audibles defensively, right? You don't see tons of checks in this defense. What they're going to play is what they're going to play. They'll disguise a coverage pretty well, but once they're in it, and they don't have to change anything because they're so talented and because they know where they need to be now. And I think that makes all the difference. That lets your athletes really shine when they're not bogged down with trying to do too much processing in real time. All the processing should be out of the way pre-snap. It should be out of the way during the film week. And when they come in, and it's time to play and they get on that field and that ball snaps, they know exactly what needs to happen defensively, and that's making a world of difference. This is a whole different defense than last year. This is a whole different football team than last year. The leadership is different, and you're watching the results. And I expect the Ohio State Buckeyes to beat Wisconsin, and I expect the score to be somewhere around 38-10, right around there. Look for that. Look for Ohio State to really attack the middle of Wisconsin's defense. We don't need to outrun anybody, even though we can. And then I also expect to see wide receiver Benjamin Victor have a big night. You can quote me on that. This kid's got some favorable matchups in the back end, and our offensive line is looking like we're going to get a little bit healthier this week. It's going to be a big game. We're one day away, and I cannot wait. We'll talk to you guys about it after the game. This has been the 2 Cents Podcast Buckeye Review. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. I'm Jay Richardson. You can find me on Twitter at JRichardson99. You can also, find us on Instagram at 2 Cents Show. Please like, subscribe, give us feedback, and let's talk about it. See you guys next time.